Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. This is Carolina Federico, and I'm here with John Ciampo, my partner.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening. And tonight we have a very exciting show. I'm very excited about this guest, Larry Bailin. He's the author of the book Mommy, Where Does Customers Come From? I actually met him during the Affiliate Summit East 2009 in August, and his passion was from far one of the best. Such a generous guy and very informative, a lot of good information. And also I was thinking of this phrase that I always used to say, that when a book, it's not mine, but it's from actually reading this book from J.D. Salinger. And he says that when a book is really good, you feel like as soon as you finish reading, you feel like calling the author to talk to him. And I'm very, very glad. I'm very, very glad that I can actually talk to Larry tonight. And I think he's already on the line. Right, John? Let's talk to him a little bit more. And
hello, Larry.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Thank you so much for coming on our show, Larry. I'm very, very excited and very happy. We're both reading your book at the same time. I saw it, and then John borrowed from me. Such a great book, a lot of good information, and I love the way you write it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit about the book. How the idea came up, and why the title? Like, I thought that the way you titled the chapters of the book was so interesting, like about Mommy, I hear a noise. Mommy, I feel scared. When I read the second chapter, I felt really scared.
Well, the concept, there's a couple of reasons. I guess I'll start with why I wrote the book. I've been a public speaker on the topic of Internet marketing since I founded my company in early 2001. And I've always tried to look at things from a customer's perspective, especially my customer, people that I'm speaking to, and I always think about the people that are in the audience. We've all been to very bad presentations and sat through things that are very boring, or people that tend to talk over your head. And when I started my company, Internet marketing was still something that very few people knew about. I mean, we just really came out of the whole .com bubble burst, and a lot of companies were really, I think, waiting to or hoping that things would just go back to business as usual and the Internet would kind of, be less important than it ended up being. And when anyone talked about Internet marketing, people would immediately tune out or turn off because they assumed it was going to be a talk that was way beyond them or very technical. And I'm a student of sales and a student of marketing, and realized that it doesn't have to be a topic that people don't understand, and started to do presentations in a language that was easy for everyone to understand. I had no technical jargon, mumbo-jumbo, just speak about customers, about connecting with customers, so on and so forth. And because my talks were so easy to understand, they became very popular. And that's kind of, and you've been to one of my presentations there, I was talking about viral video and Web 2.0 and social networking and media and every, a lot of what you would think are very technical topics, yet it was, whether you were someone who was just learning or someone who was advanced, it was easy to understand. So that led to kind of the style of the book and the title. The title, what I wanted to do was, again, create something and write something that was going to help businesses that were maybe a little bit intimidated by the Internet and how fast it's growing and how important it's becoming in business, and write it for those people so they could understand what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, and how to go about doing it. So the title needed to be very simple, something that would be eye-catching, and it would kind of entice people to at least crack the cover, take a look, maybe read the first page or two in the bookstore, and then realize this isn't a book about technology. It's a book about using the Internet to connect with customers. The title actually came from a piece of literature I created for my company. I've never been a big fan of brochures or literature. or any of those types of things. As a salesperson most of my life, you start to realize that most customers don't read your brochures. They kind of throw them away. They throw away your mailers and anything printed, and it's kind of a waste of money. But I had a lot of salespeople that wanted something to leave behind. I wanted to create something that was very, easy to understand and different, that people would hold on to it. So I wanted them to be able to read our brochure and not read it like it was a technical manual. I wanted it to read like a children's book. So that kind of stuck in my head, and that's exactly what we created. We actually, our literature for the company for the longest time was a coloring book that we created called Mommy, Where Do Customers Come From? And it told a story page by page, and we gave it away with crayons. And people really took to it. They loved the idea of literature being a coloring book because they didn't get rid of it. Worst case scenario, they gave it to their kids. They would actually color it in and send it back to us, and we would put the pictures up on their refrigerator in the office. Wow. So it took so well, and people liked the whole style of kind of this easy-to-read story that told them what they needed to do to succeed in business. So I took that title, I took that concept, and I wrote the book. I sat and I just wrote the book, and it became a fairly large success.
It's actually genius how you put into a coloring book, which is definitely staying in the house for some time to come.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and giving it out with crayons, people were they kind of just took to it. It was easy to flip through. It was illustrated, and people liked it. But at the end, it kind of told a story, and it led to more questions. And then again, that led me to, I need to write a book. I was writing a lot of articles at the time, doing a lot of speaking, and trying to explain to everyone what they need to do in about an hour's time up on stage is very difficult. Inevitably, everyone wants to know, well, where do I get more information? How do I get more information? And that kind of also pushed me to write the book. I also am friends with a bunch of authors like Harry Beckwith, who wrote the classic Selling the Invisible and 4 other international best-selling books. He wrote the foreword to my book. And my wife and I were out to dinner with him in Minneapolis, he and his wife, and just over dinner conversation, he just kept saying, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. Even if it doesn't get published, you have to write it. And I really at the time didn't understand why I would write something if it wasn't going to get published, why Harry kept saying that. But the fact of the matter is, after I wrote the book, and I wrote it before I started looking for any publishers whatsoever. I had it completed, 100% done, edited, and everything. And when you write a book, it changes you. It takes all of the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years, all of the old knowledge and all the new knowledge, merges it into one, makes everything old new, and everything new better. So that was probably the reason why he pushed me to write. And I'm glad he did. I mean, finding a publisher, everyone told me it was going to be the hardest part, but I actually found one very, very quickly. I sent the manuscript out to a few different publishers, and I think the title is what caught their eye. And then, like you said, the style, being born and raised in New Jersey, I'm a kind of tell it like it is, shoot from the hip kind of guy. So that's the style of the book, written from a total Jersey perspective, and that seems to connect with a lot of people.
And let me ask you a question. For blogger school in particularly, the word blog, I guess, scares off a lot of people right away, like talking over their head, going back to a point you made before. How should we approach people to not scare them off? I mean, a lot of people that don't know anything about social media right away, they don't know the word social media, they don't know new media. All they know is their existing business and the route they've been on for years. And how does that change now that we have all this going on?
I think the word blog still scares people. You have to, I guess, as marketers and business people in the internet space, we do have to look at things through our customers' eyes the same way we consult our customers to do through their customers' eyes. And our customers are not as savvy as we are. They're just not. They're not they're not blog writers. They're not influencers. They don't have thousands of Twitter followers. In fact, their Twitter probably scares the crap out of them. They don't know what to do, but as business people, they know they have to do it. And my company, we're an internet marketing company, so I do a lot of consulting as well. We consult and also develop blogs and help people take things to a different level, what to blog about and so on and so forth. And the best way I've come about teaching people that they have to do this and a little bit more about the tool is to tell them to forget about the word blog, that a blog is simply just a website. It's to the reader, to the person that's searching in Google for a specific topic, finding your blog, they could care less, nor do they most times even realize it is a blog. To them, they found the content they were looking for. They found value. And if you create that value and you write that value, the blog is really just a benefit, not to the end user. It's a benefit to the person that owns the blog or the person that's writing the blog, because it allows them an easy way to really kind of flex their muscles when it comes to their services and their offerings. So you can put out valuable content. I'm actually writing an article now for Feedfront Magazine. Speaking, you were mentioning Affiliate Summit, and it talks a lot about that. It talks a lot about thinking before you write, creating value, and where do you pull that from? That there really are no secrets to, there's good and bad things that you can do. There's best practices and tools and tips and things of that nature. But when it comes to connecting with a customer, most business people already know enough to succeed. The tool is irrelevant, whether it's a blog or a website or what have you. If you have someone that can guide you on how to navigate the tool, the best practices, similar to what you do, which is a great service, it's really the writing or what you're putting out in front of your customer that matters. And if people can forget about the term blog and just realize all they're doing is talking to a customer, they know how to do that. They know their offerings, their products, their services intimately. They know if a customer walked into their office, their store, called them on the phone, they would know how to speak to them. They know their customers' wants, needs, and desires, as well as misconceptions and anything else related to their products and services. Even the objections that they're going to have from a sales perspective. So when you have that kind of knowledge, you actually have what it takes to succeed in the blogging space. You can write, or maybe you can't write. Maybe you're not a writer, but you have the content in your head. You know what a customer wants. You know how to address these things. You know how to create value. I actually tweeted a quote that I came up with just based on writing this article that I'm noticing got retweeted a bunch. And it says you can only be catapulted to success if you have something worth flinging into the air. It's not the blog itself that's going to make you successful. It's what you put into the blog. And if you forget about the term blog the way your customers do, and you think about content and strategize content, you're going to be successful. You're going to make that connection.
Larry, my question to you is, how do you think most of people come to business? Because the title of the book is very interesting. Most of people don't think of that, or maybe they do. But I think most of people just have an idea, they open up a business, but do you think they're expecting the customer to find them because they have a good product? What actually happens?
When you're starting a business is the question?
Most of people, what do you think they understand? That because they have a great product, the customers are going to come?
Automatically? Or
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's no, I think the world we live in, and this kind of goes back to, I think, a conversation that you and I had after my presentation at Affiliate Summit. The fact that we're kind of going into a new decade, and the things that got you here and through this decade that we're currently in are not going to get you through the next. It's a totally different world. When you started out this decade, having a website was almost a guarantee that people would find you. So when I started back, like I said, early 2001, actually late 2000, we could create a website for a company and do very little to get it to show up in, actually at that time, really it was just Yahoo. And Yahoo crawled the entire Internet every day. So there wasn't a lot of competition, and we would create a website for a client, get them to show up in Yahoo, and they were guaranteed to get customers. Heck, even if you just created a website, you were almost guaranteed to get customers or people with interest, even if you didn't optimize the site, because there was only one search engine and it crawled the web all the time, every day. It's not like that anymore. It's not a build-it-and-you-will-come society.
I ask you that because a lot of people, they know what's going on. They watch the TV, they hear all the time, follow me on Twitter, be a fan on Facebook. But when you come to the abyss, or maybe when they come to you, the first phrase you hear is like, I hate the internet, I just can't take computers. They have a lot of resistance, what I meant to say. They have a lot of resistance against what's going on right now. So
yeah, I would totally agree with that, and you probably see it quite a bit too. I mean, you have a blog school, so you're trying to fight that battle all the time, I'm sure, and people do hate doing things. And you know what? In my experience, I mean, Single Throw is the name of my company. Is not the first company I've owned. I mean, I started in '95. Founded a web development company with some partners, and we were acquired in '98, and I worked for that company as their director of e-business for 3 years. Left there and then founded the current company that I have, Single Throw. And the one thing I've learned from building successful companies is that you cannot be successful unless you take risk. First of all, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be risk tolerant. If you're not, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. You should just have a job. If you're starting a business, the only way to succeed is to step outside of your comfort zone. If you can't step outside of your comfort zone, I think it's good that you're scared of the internet or scared of blogs or tweets and all this other stuff, that it's so far out of your comfort zone that it scares the crap out of you. Because when you start diving into that, there's a level of excitement that really should persuade and make any entrepreneur kind of salivate. These are the things an entrepreneur looks for. Things to push them outside their comfort zone, learning new things. And that's got to be one of the top things for success. And the reason people are afraid of these things is usually because they're afraid of failing, which is obviously a legitimate fear. However, failure is a precondition to success. You can't succeed unless you fail. You can't fail unless you step outside your comfort zone. If you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, you'll never learn. So pick what scares you the most, whether it be blogging, podcasting, tweeting, Facebook, social, any of it. Pick one and dive head first in. Learn everything you can about it. It makes it very exciting when you are a little bit afraid of it. I think it's why people get on roller coasters.
You basically said it's okay to make some mistakes twice, as long as you learn from your mistakes, correct?
Absolutely. Actually, I would say twice is I think you're spot on there. I think 2 is the magic number. When I fail at something the first time, I will try it again. I will try to gather as much data and find out what I can learn from that failure, make changes, and go at it again. If it fails again, then I'll probably push it to the side and move on. It's not going to stop me from doing things. It's not going to stop me from trying things, but I am going to try to figure out why it failed, and I'm going to learn something from both those failures, guaranteed. If you don't learn from the failure, you're not failing forward. So that's what you need to do, is kind of fail forward.
I have just had a little interesting clip about 2 minutes about a part of your speech on Affiliate Summit. I want to play, and then we come back to talk.
Sure.
I'll give you a perfect example, simple, something everyone can understand about a failure to connect to. This is a true story, not that anything else is even true, but this one is actually more personal. My wife and I were redoing our family room, and we wanted to rip up the old carpet and put down hardwood flooring. Now, this particular room in my house is on a concrete slab, and I'm a kind of handy guy, so I know I'm very limited to what kind of hardwood I put there, and I really don't like laminate, because it looks like laminate. So I have to do some research to find out the best hardwood flooring for the application that I had. So I go online, I type in best hardwood flooring, and this is the website that showed up. Number 1, in Google, inorganic, and paid. But it was in both. And the reason that this website showed up was not because it was a great website. It sucked pretty bad. They do keyword stuffing. Every second or third word was hardwood flooring. If you want hardwood flooring, we've got hardwood flooring, got hardwood flooring in the back, we've got some hardwood flooring in the front, we've got some hardwood flooring over here, there's hardwood flooring over here. You probably need hardwood flooring, you wouldn't be here looking for hardwood flooring. On and on and on and on. And it read like a 3-year-old. No persuasion. They showed up, absolutely. So placement without persuasion doesn't turn into success. So placement isn't everything. You have to persuade it. This persuaded me, but they're not in a positive way. Then I looked to the left, because that is how someone's eyes typically track if you do look left for navigation. And it was brand names. I didn't know what brand hardwood flooring needs. I need to know what I need. I need someone to educate me, not assume I knew what I was talking about, because I didn't. Then I looked to the right, and there's Google AdWords, which is awesome, because all the competitors are there. Because you use the word hardwood floors so many times. That's stupid. If you're in business, like a service business, a product business, and you're actually going to sell something, don't put some ads on your website. You might make a couple bucks, but okay, I lost thousands of dollars in sales to his competitor. Then the website sucks. Okay, this website sucks, but here's all my competitors. Don't see that. And I did, and I bought my floors from the guy.
Hi, Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just interesting listening to yourself on the radio.
So you were talking about Google research when you were actually doing your research to buy a hardwood floor for your house. You have a lot of customers who come to you and say, I want to be on first page of Google. You have a lot of people. How do you explain that to them?
I explain to them most of the time their expectations are, in a lot of cases, unless they have a time machine, are set a little too high. For instance, you could have a small flooring company come to you and say, I want to show up on, number one in Google anytime someone types in the word floor. And in all honesty, there are millions, and if not over 1 billion web pages that show up when you type in that phrase. Unless we can go back 8 or 9 years, it's probably that small company is not going to have the budget to do that. However, floor is probably not the right word for them anyway. You have to, similar to what you do, is you have to re-educate people a bit. Yes, it would be great if they showed up under the word floor, but you have no idea if you're selling hardwood flooring and I type in the word floor, you don't know that I'm looking for you. It's so, you need to get a little more granular. That word is just so vague that it's not going to be a customer, and you have to start to think about that. On average, people type in a 3 to 5 word phrase. If I type in the word floor and I'm looking for hardwood flooring, I'm probably going to refine my search 3 or 4 times before I find hardwood flooring, and it may even be down to a regional level because I want to find someone that can actually come and install it. So I'm going to put a descriptor at the end like New Jersey or NJ or New York or whatever it is. So the first thing I tell people is, well, you have to change the way you think. You never want to show up under the first thing someone types in. You want to show up under the last thing they type in. After they've really refined their search and gotten down to that 3 to 5 word phrase, I would much rather be there than under the word floor, because when they get that granular, they're so much more qualified. Give me 5 qualified customers a day over 50,000 random people coming to my website any day of the week. I always believe, because of the way the web works, because you're not searching for hardwood flooring unless you need hardwood flooring. It's not something someone will do for fun, or at least most people won't do that for fun. So that makes you qualified. Then I go to Google. So I have a need. I'm an imminent buyer. I have some sort of purchase intent. I may be, just thinking about it or in research mode, or I may be having, my daughter's wedding in my home, and I need to replace the floor right now. So I have that purchase intent. It's there. Now, I go to Google or Yahoo or Bing or my favorite search engine, and I do the search for hardwood flooring, and then there's, millions of web pages that show up. I start to scan the descriptions and read, and then I click on one. Let's call that a filter. So there's one filter. I did a search. That's filter 1. I clicked on someone. Out of all of the other choices, that's filter number 2. I get to a website, and I have my attention span is about 3 to 5 seconds, because I can just hit the back button and choose from someone else. The only thing I'm giving a website when I click on it from a search engine is the benefit of the doubt that you could possibly help me. So psychologically, that's about all you have. Now you have to prove that you can. So within 5 to 8 seconds, I better be able to find what I'm looking for. You better persuade me to move forward as opposed to moving back. So that the content on the site and the site itself is filter number 3. Then when I've read the content and I feel comfortable that you can help me, I click on the Contact Us button. I fill out my information. I hit a button, and it sends it to you. That's filter number 4. Now, you got to imagine that's a fairly well-qualified lead. To me, that's a lead to lose, not a lead to win.
Right.
You've already obviously have something they're interested in, and they have a need for what you offer. If you get back to them and you know how to sell properly and give customers value and great service and good pricing, make them comfortable, you've got a customer. So it's wildly important that this is done and done right. A lot of clients that come to me already do show up in search, and they're very proud that they show up under maybe their name or some sort of wacky phrase. And then when we dig a little deeper, first of all, you don't need my help to show up under your name. If you do show up under your name, it's not a search engine thing. If someone's typing in your name, it's other marketing that got them there. They already know who you are. So they're going to, if they typed in your name, if someone typed in single throw, they're looking for me. They're not going to click on anybody else, no matter how many people show up. They're looking for me. They're going to click on me. So you don't need anyone's help to do that. And then the second thing is, a lot of times people will show up in search under a phrase that no one's looking for. It's not hard to show up where no one's looking. So you really have to do your homework or have someone guide you to really do the research, because nowadays you can figure out what people are typing in every day. There's a lot of tools out there. Tools that are offered by the major search engines that show you how many times phrases are typed in every day. And you can go after things that make the most sense. It's not a matter of showing up under thousands of keywords. A matter of fact, we usually optimize a site for 15 to 30 phrases, and they end up showing up under hundreds and hundreds on their own, but we go after the core.
I've seen that happen a lot. Sometimes we'll use some keywords, and when we do the analytics, we're noticing that a lot of times the phrases aren't anything like what we put in, but they have similarities in the words. Very
Absolutely. The words are in there, and the search engines are picking up. If the site's built in a search-friendly way and the spider can crawl through the entire site, they will find trends all by themselves. You still have to, the phrases you're going after your target phrases are almost more of a guideline to keep you focused, to keep you on task, to say, hey, this is what my customers are looking for, this is what my customers want, this is what I have to write to. And it keeps you on task. I think that one of the best things about some of these keyword tools that are out there and knowing what your customers search for is that you start to realize, it's kind of looking at your business from a fresh set of eyes. It's realizing, I'll give you an example. After I spoke at Affiliate Summit, I had to fly out to Atlanta, and I did a keynote for GE, General Electric. They have a home technologies division. And they primarily work with and sell products that are security related, from security systems for the home business, cameras, home automation, all those types of things. So the people that were in the audience, I think it was about 300 people, are all security people. And when I do a little research, I find that they service both residential and commercial. And that's how they refer to everything on their site. Even the button says residential security. As a homeowner, I don't call myself residential. I don't use that term. It's kind of a business term. Also, we found out that when you're looking for security for your home, you actually don't call it security. You type in home alarm. We call them alarms as homeowners. When you're looking for something for your business, you tend to type in commercial security. You call it security when it's business related, alarm when it's home related. So that's kind of some of the things that keyword research does for you. It helps you to understand the terms your customers use. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It really matters what your customers call it. And that's the terminology you need to use on your site, in your writing, on your blog, because it makes a better connection. You have to kind of get rid of the jargon that you're used to using because your customers aren't used to seeing it and they don't use it. And that's one of the big things of kind of strategizing your content. And that is probably the thing that most, I guess there's so many gurus and experts and geniuses out there that understand how to use the tools, but very few people will ever strategize content or spend as much time on content as they do design. And to me, design is not a subjective thing. It exists for one reason. That's to persuade a customer. It either does it or it doesn't, period. It should just make you look professional. The content is actually where the rubber meets the road. That's why I think blogs are so popular. People are reading more and more. I mean, we're in a completely different world than we were 10 years ago, where everyone says, and people still say this, that people don't read. It's with YouTube and Flickr and everything with photo sharing and video sharing that none of us read anymore. But that's not the case. I mean, all we do is read. Twitter, it's all about text. Text messaging is all about texting and content. Blogs, websites, I mean, it's all content. People read, ferociously. They're just out there devouring content, and making sure that the content you're putting out there for them to devour connects with them is a critical element, and it will determine whether you're successful or not.
And it goes right back to what you were saying before, being a publisher, too. I mean, now when you're looking for someone to do the book, you need a publisher. Now people can publish themselves using blogs to get the message across. That's I think, very important.
Oh, and I talk to a lot of, I speak to a lot of authors now. Guys like Jeffrey Eisenberg, who was kind enough to write some advance praise for my book, and he wrote a great book calling Waiting for Your Cat to Bark. He wrote another book called Call to Action. And, they're all about the web. They're all about metrics. He's a persuasion genius. And he's one that we were at, I forget what summit it was. We're kind of passing each other on an escalator, and then we stopped and started talking. And he talked about that, too, that he's like, you know what, there's really no reason that he shouldn't, and his book is a bestseller as well, and he says there's no reason that we shouldn't be self-publishing. One, as an author, you make more money, and two, 90% of the book sales happen online, most of them happening at Amazon. So there's so much self-publishing out there with blogs and self-publishing companies that you can do. You can do this on your own and put the content out there. And then there's a whole nother wave coming in the publishing. I mean, listen, I have a book, and I think books are great, and I'm an avid reader of anything I can get my hands on related to sales and marketing and business. And there's still something tactile about holding a book in your hand, and as an author, it's great to do a book signing after a presentation and those types of things. However, I'm also a huge fan of Amazon's Kindle device.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll buy another book. If it's available on Kindle, I'll just download it electronically. I travel so much, I can keep 1,500 books in one device and flip from book to book, take notes and do all those other things, and that's becoming more and more popular with more devices coming out. They've kind of perfected it. Everything is kind of going in a different direction, and that's, when I said in my presentation that, we're how are you going to end the decade, and how are you going to, I think what I should have said is how are you going to start the next? Because as these things change, things move very, very fast. You can't have a wait-and-see attitude anymore. You can't wait for the storm to pass. You have to go out and dance in the rain. You have to jump head first into things. It doesn't matter if no one else is doing it. It doesn't matter if your competitors aren't doing it. As a matter of fact, if your competitors aren't doing it, that's even more reason to do it. It doesn't matter if Twitter was really popular and then it dies off. While it's popular, take advantage of it. It's not. There's a great book. I don't know who wrote it, but it's not about the big eating the small anymore. It's the fast eating the slow. It doesn't matter if you're a small company, big company. The web is still one of the greatest equalizers in business that's ever been invented. And it's only an opportunity if you take advantage of it. And these tools out here, blogs and Twitter and Facebook, are all opportunities. They're not websites. From a business perspective, they'll help you. They'll help you gather great intelligence about your business. I think blogs are probably the best thing out there to gather great intelligence with comments and feedback. If you put the time in, you can do some really great things within a blog. You can do some really great things in Twitter and Facebook. Tying all these things together, it's not a big, scary world. You take one step at a time, and these tools will help you one way or another. There's no way you can jump out there, try blogging or try tweeting or get up on Facebook and not learn something that will make your life and your business better.
Let's talk a little bit about selling. I want to talk about selling and public speaking. What's your definition of selling something?
Well, like I said, I'm a student of sales. I'll give you a quick background on me. I'm a classically trained artist. That's what I went to school for: drawing and painting and sculpting and all those things. So that's where my interest was. And for some reason, at a young age, I really liked commercial art. I liked the whole idea of commercial art, and that led me down a path of advertising and marketing, and where I was doing freelance work for agencies and freelance work for companies, creating maybe their artwork for their billboards, their logos, their ads. And then early on, I realized that the only reason these people were marketing was to sell something. If they had nothing to sell, they wouldn't market. So the more I understood about sales, I felt the better marketer I could be. If I understood the sales process, sales, I got to tell you, it just intrigues me to no end. The ability to persuade someone to do something or buy something or lead them down a path, not mislead them. I'm not talking about like car dealer sales or aggressive sales. I actually don't even really consider that, that kind of aggressive selling sales. I think it's more bullying and it's a numbers game. I'm talking about sales helps you understand a customer. When you understand their wants, their needs, you're able to persuade them not to do something they don't want to do, but do something they should do. And that's what sales is. Sales it's subtle persuasion. And that is huge in any kind of marketing you do. You can't have sales without marketing or marketing without sales. So you have to understand both. And I also learned early on the advertising agencies I was working for could care less about sales, the process of sales. They felt that they had, the secret or whatever it took, and that design and creativity alone was enough. And I just felt that it wasn't. So, that didn't work out. And I moved on to do my own thing. And understanding why someone buys, understanding things like emotion, understanding things that subtly persuade, understanding what questions to ask, what questions not to ask, understanding how to handle objections, understanding that when you're writing content, you shouldn't write about features as much as benefits. Understanding that people don't search for the problem, they search for the solution. You're there to provide the solution, so they're going to search for the problems. I actually don't know which way I said that. They're searching for the problem, not the solution. You provide the solution. So if you're going to sell them the solution, you have to understand the problems. So selling as let's call it almost an art form or a craft, you need to keep yourself updated as much as you do on anything else. It makes you a better writer, because I start to put myself, if you're a good salesperson, you put yourself in your customer's shoes. You look through their eyes. You want to see what they see. You want to think the way they do. I mean, I write about that a lot in my book, about thinking like a customer. I do believe that is the secret to success, is to think like a customer, because you'll know, if you're a good salesperson, and you think like your customer, you'll know if they shouldn't buy from you, or if it's not the right time to buy for you, or you recommend other products to them. When you're networking, whether it be online or offline, you'll know how to speak to someone and find the right person. Sales is all about finding the right match. It's not about tricking anybody. It's about finding the right match. And if you're not the right match, it's about that too. It's about finding out that you're not the right match and maybe helping somebody find the right things for them. So selling is all about making a better connection with your customer. And most people don't look at it that way, and they don't want to be in sales. But the fact of the matter is, if you're in business, you're in sales. I don't care what you do, you're in sales. Because nothing happens until a sale happens. And every one of my company, we have 17 people now. And every one of them I look at as they're all in sales. And, they're all touching customers, they're all doing things with customers, and they're all helping customers. And you can't help a customer unless you know how to sell. Because if you don't, you'll just give a customer whatever they want. And that may sound like a good thing, but it's really not. What if they want it, but they really didn't need it? And there was something better out there. Even if you don't offer it, you're not doing the customer a favor. And until you can read people and understand them, understand what scares them and their wants, their needs, and their desires, you can't help someone. So understanding sales, and again, just to be clear, I'm not talking about high pressure sales. I'm not talking about closing techniques. There are no closing techniques. I'm talking about relationship building, relationship-driven sales. Probably the best book on that topic. Someone else that I met who's an author I've always been a big fan of. His name is Neil Rackham, R-A-C-K-M-A-N. R-A-C-K-A-M. And he wrote a book called Spin Selling. It's S-P-I-N Selling. It's not a very large book or a hard book to read, but it's probably the best book on sales in the market. It's all about relationship selling. And again, his name is Neil, R-A-C-K-H-A-M, Rackham. And he's a professor. He's a heck of a nice guy. And he has done a tremendous amount of research into what persuades, what doesn't. And he's what I would consider the anti-closing technique sales guy. He's all about building relationship to get a customer what they want. And that's a salesperson's job, is to guide a customer to what they want.
You know why I think a lot of people don't really even know they're in sales? Some people start a business, let's say construction, for instance, maybe took it over from a dad or something, or had the money to get into it. And then they get a few clients, maybe they made some sales through family and friends, and that snowballs in a kind of business like that, roofing, siding, where people just get referral after referral. And they don't even realize when they're dealing with people, they're selling the product, this is the better upgrade. They don't really consider that sales, a lot of people, like you said. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And you know what? That just doesn't last. I know exactly what you're talking about. We've all seen that, where you're kind of almost inherited a business, so to speak, and it's a good business and it's growing. But the person that inherited the business probably doesn't realize that, let's say, their father or grandfather sold their ass off to build that business. So if they don't continue to do that, that's the person that when times get bad, they wait for things to get better. And that's the person that will go out of business. And that's just all there is to it. And you can't wait for things to get better. If you wait for things to get better, all you'll do is end up picking the scraps up from the people that are hustling. And you have to hustle, and you have to work hard, and you have to make connections with customers. You have to learn to sell. It's not a hard thing to do. I mean, if you read one book a month, you're reading 12 books a year on sales, and I guarantee you for a measly, $15 investment in a sales book from Neil Rackham or Harry Beckwith or my book or Dale Carnegie or any of these guys, I guarantee you'll learn something that will make your life and your business better. If one single thing, if you can learn one single thing, that makes your business and life better, isn't that worth a $20 investment and a couple of days of reading a book? I mean, it's so worth it. But it's an underutilized resource that's out there, and I highly recommend that people just start to consume information that's out there. There's great people out there, guys like Jeffrey Gitomer and, like I said, Neil Rackham and Harry Beckwith and Herb Cohen, who's the world's greatest negotiator, has probably got a phenomenal book about negotiating. I mean, there's so much stuff out there that it would be a shame if you were in business. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't continue to hone your craft and learn how to connect with customers better.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to say that you said you never read What Do Customers Love from Harry Beckwith. It's a great book, but I have to say that I enjoy reading yours much, much better. Because of the way, you jump into other stuff, like you talk about your coffee on Starbucks, and then you create kind of a hyperlink for different topics, but they're all related to the same topic. How long did you take to write this book?
First of all, thank you. I mean, Harry is an incredibly gifted writer, and it's nice to hear that. Not that I believe it in any way. Knowing Harry, he's also probably the best storyteller I've ever listened to in my life. But his book is amazing as well. So, but again, thanks for the compliment. It took me, I would say, it took about 8 months to actually write the first draft of the book. And then it probably took another, 5 to 6 months to get it. I would send it to or have different editors look it over. And then it would come back to me, and then I would kind of rewrite it again, and then it would have to go out again. And I was very picky about. I wanted the tone to be me. I wanted people to read the book, and there'd be little difference than if they actually met me and spoke to me. That it was my persona, it was my style that would come across. And when you send something like that out, again, being from Jersey, and you write in a Jersey type guy style, you're not always grammatically correct, but I want to make sure that being grammatically correct didn't affect the tone, or there was a happy medium or a balance. And that was very tough to do, because every time I would send it out to be edited, to have someone look it over, and they sent it back, there were things that were changed that I didn't really like, and then I'd have to compromise and make changes. So it went back and forth quite a bit until I wasn't going to release the book that I couldn't be proud of, and I didn't feel that when someone read it, they would almost know me, and they would kind of appreciate the style, and they would connect with it. So all in all, it took maybe about a year to a year and a half or year and a quarter to have it 100% completed. It's definitely now, I'm working on the second book, which is going to be titled Clicking Ass. And it's kind of a follow-up. I mean, the second edition of my book, Mommy, Where Do Customers Come From, just came out in August. So next year, the book Clicking Ass will come out. And I actually think the second book is actually harder to write than the first. One, I don't, even though there's great points in the first book that I think are worth kind of reinvestigating or rehashing, I don't want it to be a duplicate of the first book. So even though you're the writer of the book, I write so many articles and I write so many speeches and things like that, you kind of forget sometimes what you wrote because it just came out of my mind, so it's always there anyway. So I may write a chapter of the book and go, wow, this is really great, but it's 90% of a chapter that was in the last book. So the second book actually takes a lot longer than the first because you want to provide more value than you did in the first.
So how did you get into public speaking? We're just curious about that as well.
I was thrown into the deep end, kicking and screaming. When I started Single Throw, my internet marketing company, my partner joined a local chamber of commerce, and that's how we started networking. That's how we started to get business, our first customers. And they were this was back in 2001. Most businesses, a lot of businesses didn't have websites at the time, or if they did, they really never even heard the term internet marketing. They didn't know what it meant. They didn't know what it was. The industry barely knew what it was at that time. So the chamber thought it was a very intriguing topic, and they were starting to see more and more of it, and we were their only member that did it. So they asked me if I would do a presentation to some of the members, like a little workshop. Now, I have my whole life been terrified of public speaking. Again, it's one of those things. It's the number one fear people have. It's right. Number one is public speaking. Number two is death. So people would rather be in the casket than give the eulogy. I was one of those people. And my partner just convinced me, he goes, listen, this might be a way to get customers. So as that business owner that knows you have to step outside of your comfort zone to succeed, I said I would do it. And it was only 15 people. And, I think back now, I speak in front of, I've spoken in front of close to 1,000 people. Without blinking an eye. I can do it in a heartbeat, without any materials whatsoever, and I enjoy it so much. I look back now and remember how scared I was and nervous I was to speak to 15. I was sweating. I had tissues in my pocket so I could put my hands in my pocket and dry my palms off. I would, stammer and forget what to say. Yet, after the presentation, we got a customer. So my partner joined another chamber and signed me up to do another one. And then we did another. And then all of a sudden, because the topic was so hot, and I guess I became better and better at it over time, and I knew my topic. That was the one thing. I've always prided myself on that there's very little people can ask me about my topic that I can't answer, no matter what it was. When I started in internet marketing, or actually web development, I never knew anything about technology. I'm an artist. I'm not a tech guy. But I didn't want, if I was going to be out selling, I needed to be knowledgeable. I wanted to know everything, right down to what does HTTP stand for and all the acronyms. So I knew my topic, I knew my stuff, and even though I don't think I was any good back then, I was better than anyone else they'd ever seen, and I knew more than they did. And I kept it in, again, down to a language that they understood. And then after a while, the speaking engagements started to be for bigger companies or bigger organizations. They were larger chambers of commerce. They were marketing associations. Word just started to spread. All the people in the chamber that saw me speak, one of them may have belonged to another association, and then they asked me to speak. And, obviously back then I was doing it for free, so, for them it was a no-brainer. They'd bring me in, I'd speak for an hour or 45 minutes or a half an hour or sometimes 20 minutes. And every time I did, we used to get clients, and it's how we built the business. I got better at it, and then I started to really take it seriously. And again, using my sales background, you start to think about everything you say. How does it affect the people in the audience? What are they going to think? Every slide. If you notice when you saw me speak, whenever someone asked a question, all of my slides and everything I would say would inevitably lead to a question in the audience. The question in the audience, when I would answer it, automatically kind of led to the next slide. When I went to the next slide, it was the answer to the question I had just answered. So if you think about the audience when you're presenting, how they're going to react to everything you're saying and every slide you're going to show, you can actually create something that's pretty amazing and that connects all the way through. And now as a published author, I'm hired to speak and do keynotes for big companies, and it's pretty amazing, and it's great to be up on that stage and have people come up and ask the questions after, and knowing that you connected with people. And I don't think there's very much that's better than that from a business perspective. And it's a wonderful thing. But there's something about speaking and knowing your topic and doing a good job at it that will also help grow your business. So I guess I started for a semi-selfish reason to grow my business. It was the motivator. But now, I think we help more people in the audience than we take on as clients. They either leave and with a, $20 investment, they buy my book and it helps them, and I get emails from people on how things that I've said on stage and things they've read in my book have helped them make changes, save money, get a customer, and, I get those stories, and that kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah, it is really nice. Are you going to Blog World again this year?
No, actually, I was supposed to speak at Blog World. Actually, they still have me up on their schedule, but I have a conflict on that date. I have spoken at Blog World before. I think it's a wonderful show. I did speak there before. I've gone to quite a few Blog Worlds. I've spoken at the Podcast Expo, and now they've, New Media Expo, and now they've merged. I actually launched my book before it was released to stores at the Podcast New Media Expo. And, unfortunately, I would love to speak at Blog World. And, again, I'm on the calendar, so anyone listening that sees me on the calendar actually won't be there. They just actually forgot to take me off the calendar. I just had a conflict, and I'm sure I'll be speaking there next year.
At least you gave a little advance notice. That's good. We'd be upset if you weren't there that day and we didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone's going, I know the guys that run Blog World, Rick over there, he's a really good guy, and they do put on one hell of a show. And
let's just go over your site, your Twitter, anything you want to mention.
Sure. The book, it's Mommy Where Do Customers Come From. You can go to mommywheredocustomerscomefrom.com. The book's for sale, obviously, on Amazon or in any retail bookstore that you go to, Barnes & Noble, so on and so forth. My company is Single Throw, SINGLETHROW, and it's singlethrow.com, and we're an internet marketing firm, and pretty actually great at it, which is a good thing. We're fortunate. We have great customers, companies like Sara Lee and Endust and Harley Davidson, and companies that can pick anybody. When they pick you, it feels pretty good. You can follow me at Twitter on Twitter at Larry Bailin, not .com, just at Larry Bailin. Facebook, you can do a search for me. It's facebook.com/Larry Bailin, BAILIN as in Nancy. And I have a blog, of course, connectedcustomers.net, where I post probably a little more than what your average blog post is, because a lot of my articles will get picked up by magazines. They're like full-blown articles on the topics that we're talking about. They could be about selling. It could be about Twitter, Facebook, blogging, podcasting, websites, or just how to speak to a customer, or all of the above. So those are my points of interest, and that's it.
Very good.
So much. I hope to talk to you about clicking ads